Welcome back to another episode of the Gifted Performance Podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to like the video and subscribe for future content. For more information about our one-on-one coaching and other training or nutrition options, visit giftedperformance.com. Our newest feature, the Gifted Express, offers premium programming for bodybuilders, powerlifters, Olympic weightlifters, and lifestyle clients for only $30 a month. Enjoy the video. We'll see you on the next one. And as always, stay gifted. And welcome back. Another episode of the GPP, Get to Performance Podcast, Season 2, Episode, 8. Episode 8. Does that sound right to you guys?
I'm in.
That's as good as any. So if you are binge watching, you'll know better than us. But this seems like Season 2, Episode 8. Thanks for coming around. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us. Before we get into any of the fun stuff, I'm going to say at the beginning, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your dogs to spread the word about the Get to Performance Podcast. Gentlemen, anything new to report on the front end of this? I heard a rumor. Do you guys want to hear the rumor that I heard?
Of course.
I heard a rumor that Paul Serafini is currently taking clients. Paul, can you confirm or deny that?
I am. I'm doing that. Taking them into my home.
Confirm. Okay. Yeah, Paul has a new package on the store, and it is the Live with Paul package.
It's the full Paul experience.
Yeah, for $500 a month, you can sleep on that futon behind him, next to those swords, underneath the Gift of Performance banner, so you can truly get the experience. He will cook for you. He will clean you.
I prefer to call it the casting couch. It's the budget casting couch. That works as well. Ooh, budget too. It's dirty. There's like bread. There's like crumbs on it and shit. There's like old weird meat behind it that no one can identify even what it is. Dog food, human food, who knows? Dude, it's.
But yeah,
it's almost like
What would be the price
for pancake?
What would be the price that you would have to charge a client per month for them to live with you? You cook their food. You like do their laundry. You take them to the gym and train them one-on-one. What's the monthly rate that you have to charge someone for something like that? What do you think?
Like
a couple $1,000s a month.
To do all of that, $5,000.
One time, $5,000.
No, a month.
Live with Paul for as long as you want.
Dude, that's literally what parenting is. You just named off all the things that is parenting.
Oh, so what is...
Jason, we should calculate how much a kid costs per month, and that would probably be the price.
Oh, every day. I've got a tab going.
What does Graham pay? Does Graham pay rent yet?
This guy's paying nothing. He is a financial non-contributor to our household.
What does a kid cost a year? Like $30K?
I don't want to talk about it.
$30K on the light
that's
end,
on the
dude.
low end. And then if you send them to private school, like our dumbasses are, who knows? Millions of dollars by the time he's done with school. So there's that. Hopefully he's smart.
So my high school is now $20,000 a year.
That's college, dude.
He's not going to be in high school for another 13 years.
That's what college fucking costs.
My high school will probably be $25,000 a year.
Yeah. Yep.
I think my high school now is
this
somewhere...
this $529 I have for him is probably going to be used for high school. It's not even going to make it to college.
Not going to get there. Is college going to be real at that point? Or do you plan on putting Blake in the Gifted Performance Assistant Coaching Program right out of high school?
I plan on having so much generation wealth that he doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. He just sits at home, just smokes opium.
No. He's going to work his ass. He's going to work every day.
I'm trying to push that trade school on my son. I'm like, hey, buddy, what do you think about this toilet? Do you think...
Honestly...
You like playing with these white tubes?
I feel like trade school is the move, man. Like when you're that young, you don't know shit about life, what you want to do, who you want to be. You know?
Dude, I had a guy come over to service our air conditioner. He was the happiest person on the planet.
Dude, crushing it.
Just enjoying life.
Was it July? I don't think he was happy in July.
He loved it. He was just the happiest guy. Like he was no student loan debt. He wasn't burdened by anything. Just heat. Just oppressive heat was the only thing that was really holding him down. And then he goes into air conditioning a few times a day. So he really wasn't that disturbed.
I do have a friend from my high school who has, he'll remain unnamed, who has a serious cocaine habit. And he is a plumber. And he supports that habit and lives comfortably just being a plumber.
Dude, I know a plumber who absolutely demolishes it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like he makes
You know
so
what
much
it is?
money.
It's this propaganda around trade skills that, like, if you try it yourself, you'll completely fuck something up. Like, if you try and fix your sink yourself, like, your entire house will explode. Or if you try and change the oil in your car, you'll put it in the gas tank and the engine will implode.
I think about it now. I'm like, I would be so happy if I would have just become a mechanic. Like, I would have been so happy if, like, all I did was turn wrenches all day long. Sounds like the best life. Fuck. Here I am.
Life.
You don't have to deal with no customer service. It's just the machine.
Exercise scientist. That sounded cool.
Yeah, I don't know.
Thanks,
I
Dr.
somehow
Humphrey.
just stumbled into. I had like no plans. I was like, oh fuck it, join the army. It's like, oh, I can go to college for free and they'll pay me. Cool. Like knocked it out, and then it was like, okay, get this degree, become an online coach. Don't need the degree. Like,
Man, that was one of the things, like the military is one of the things my dad, and he never impressed any, like he was never the kind of dad that's like, you should do this. And the one thing he always told me was like, you should go to the Air Force. And I was like, no, son. I'm not trying to go to the white man's army. And then now I look back and I'm like, fuck, he was so right. I should have gone to the Air Force.
dude, like I was thinking about being like, I wish I had known about investing in shit when I was in the military, right? Like I just accumulated just randomly over that time period. I a few times saved up like 20K, so that's like 60K. Over like these last 10 years, if I had known about that, like I'd already have hundreds of thousands of dollars like in the bank, especially with the last 10 years 15% bull run.
You spent thousands of dollars getting pro hormones imported overseas.
Not even,
so
dude.
That you
Just getting shitty with my
your
friends.
M-draw.
Just getting shitty with my friends. I don't even know where that money went.
No one knows. It's out there somewhere. It's probably buried in a desert somewhere. Paul was like fucked up one night and he was like, I'll remember where this is.
It's the safest investment you can make. Just burying money. Just bury money somewhere around your house. Nobody can ever get to it. Your wife. And then, yeah, it's the safest place for it.
We'll cut that out. We need to bleep that right there. We need to use the new Riverside bleep feature on that piece right there. But speaking of kind of professions and, you know, career stress and workplace stress, I think our good friend Matt Casano, so for our Taste of the Internet this week, our good friend Matt Casano, friend of the channel, shared this on his story. And I saw you reposted it here with your own little sidebar. And it was from an AMA that he had on his story. Just saying how time-consuming and taxing on patients is it to be a coach? Outside looking in, I think most people see coaching as a relatively stress-free, non-time-intensive pursuit. But Matt's input here was he's lucky to have a semi-free day 2 to 3 times a month. As soon as I wake up, handful of check-ins, doing consults, responding to emails, messages, up until I put my phone down for the evening around 8 to 9 p.m. Dom, you said you have like kind of like a similar experience. Do you want to expand upon that point?
So I think there's a couple ways you could look at a day. I think, or not even a day, but there's a couple of ways you could look at workload. There's like hard workload where you're sitting at the computer, working, answering emails, doing Google Sheets, whatever you're doing as hard working, like you're present at the computer sitting. And then there's like the phone calls, text messages, looking at pictures on the go even, that is, you know, a very time consuming.
Can I stop you for 1 second? I would lump phone calls and video calls into the hard work. Dude, nothing drains me more than like having to like talk to somebody for like an hour. I'm like, dude, I need a nap after that.
Actually,
so you could count that as hard sitting work. But I think with his post, we could say like our day is extremely long, but there's a good chunk of that day that you get off the computer at a certain point, and then just that trickle in messaging comes in, the trickling, like that kind of stuff comes in. And I think that's where like you have those days where you end up talking to somebody till 8, 9 o'clock. But I don't think a lot of I wouldn't say a lot of coaches are physically sitting from 8 to 9 like that. You know, I've had days like that, but I just had so much work. And if I did have a day like that, I was doing multiple different things. I wasn't just working on client check-ins or something like that. But I posted it because a lot of people think like we don't work. Like we just kind of willy-nilly do stuff, and we don't actually like sit and talk to people. My mom is actually like she thinks like she could call me and I can come over and do something for her because I work from home and I work for myself. So that's where like I think the misconception of like what we do is, because like my Tuesdays are my busiest days, where I train at 6-7 in the morning. I'm sitting down by 8:30 and I work probably till about 4 straight, just sitting at the computer working. And then after 4 o'clock, I get up and I either come home and just start relaxing, but I'm still getting text messages that whole time. So, you know, you could say it's a 12-hour day, but I wouldn't consider that a 12-hour work day. Answering text messages isn't work to me.
Yeah. Dude, I got 16 unread messages that I need to answer right after this. Like, dude, I don't know, man. I feel like it's crazy, right? Because I've taken one off day this month, and that was Monday. Now, granted, when I work on Saturdays, it's like 2 or 3 hours, right? I just write like a couple programs and call it a day or something. And like I try to take them off, but lately it's just worked out that way where there's work on Saturdays. But I think that's the one thing about coaching, is just that it's more emotionally taxing, because you never really feel off, and it's taken me years to get the balance to where at a certain time I can just like not like answer clients and stuff. And I don't know, man, it's just a weird balance to find, because it's not like most other jobs where you just clock out and you're off. It's almost like, it feels kind of like still being in school, to where it's like, oh, I'm done with my classes today, but I still have a bunch of shit to do all the time. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I don't think there's anything else I'd rather be doing. Like, I mean, unless I was rich, then like yeah, I'd rather be like getting shitty on the beach or something right now. But other than that, though, like when I think about other jobs and other careers, I'm like, nah, this is pretty cool, man, because I can. Like after this podcast, I'll probably eat lunch and then answer these 16 messages, you know, with my feet kicked up on the couch. And then I'll come back here and start like my program writing and stuff for the day, you know, and then I'll have to eat again at 3, maybe do something, you know what I mean? Like how many jobs can you do that? Just like go make some lunch at your leisure and sit on your couch while you like take care of like some of your work, like on your phone, and then come back here, work for a couple hours, maybe take a break, go to the gym, come back, maybe work till like 7 or 8, and then like call it a day, you know?
Ryan?
I don't think.
What is your take?
I don't know. I'm not allowed to have a take on this.
Why?
Because when I'm done doing coaching stuff, then I just do like when I'm done in the business, I mostly just work on the business. My days are like kind of pretty much. I take a break in the middle of the day to train for like 3 hours, which is a very long time to train. I know. But after that, I mean, I start around 6:30, 7. I'll usually go to my computer, start reading, start writing up some like educational materials or stuff like that. And then I finish at like 8:15 every night with a nice 3-hour break in the middle from like 1:30 to 4:30, but calls and stuff like that. But I would agree with Paul. It's like at no point over the last 2.5 years of doing gift performance related things full time would I rather be doing anything else. Like my busiest days are usually my happiest and my most fulfilling days. So it's definitely a blessing and a curse in terms of the workload, but the enjoyment from it, of, you know, seeing the team grow and seeing the other coaches grow and seeing our projects that we're working on growing is always fulfilling. I'll work 13-hour days for the rest of my life if it means that all of those things are going to grow.
Whoa. I don't know about 13-hour days. Like my motivation right now is to try to like at some point before I'm 60 get filthy rich, because there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. Like I would like to do this for a long time, or as long as probably life will let me, but I'd also like to maybe only do it 4 hours a day. You know?
I think, because when I think about it like this, I'm like, so Dom, how old are you? 26?
27.
So, wow. By that number, I think I've probably been a personal trainer, a coach or something for almost as long as Dom has been alive, which is very strange to think about. So I've gone through that the roller coaster of like, I'm going to work 12, 13-hour days because I didn't have a family, or I could just do whatever I wanted. And I'd have like 2 or 3 different jobs all the time. And then as I've gotten older, and like Paul brought up, I start to look sort of at the horizon, like how much longer can I continue to do this? It's almost like when I realized that I didn't work more, I actually started to work less. Like I started to like give myself very defined, like this is when you start and this is when you end. If messages keep rolling in, emails keep coming in, it doesn't matter. You just have to stop and you have to move on to the next thing. So it's not, so I think about what's taxing on or patience. I think that comes in, that's more or less like how much do you allow it to become taxing on your own patience? Like how much do you allow it to infringe on your life? That's kind of up to the individual. I think some people watch like a shit ton of like Gary Vee, like a bunch of productivity porn. They're like, I have to grind. But
Hustle
then I think,
porn.
Yeah. Yeah. I think eventually you kind of just get to the point where you're like, okay, maybe I don't need to work more. I just need to be far more productive. I need to be more efficient. I mean, I work basically 2 jobs. Then I've always I think I had 1 job at one point in my life, and that's the most anxiety I've ever had, was just trying to rely on one income. It drove me crazy. So I've always been able to do that. And I think a lot of it is because I've set up systems. Like I wake up in the morning, I make my calendar for the day. Everything's broken down in half-hour segments, and then I kind of gamify it where I'm like, okay, if I can do this, if I've got this half an hour block to do this thing, and I can get it done in 15, 20 minutes, I've now gained 15, 20 minutes. And then if I can continue to do that throughout the day, all day long.
Your day gets shorter.
Yeah, my day ends up actually getting shorter. And then the end of the day comes, it's either I can work on projects that were sort of planned for the next day and sort of chip into that. And then by the end of the week, I might be like, oh shit, I've got 3 or 4 hours where I don't really have to do anything if I don't want to. Very seldomly does that happen, but I might like, maybe I go pick up my kid from school that day and we go do like, it's like little things like that allow me to do that. So I think taxing on your patience is probably up to the coach. Like how much, because like, even like Ryan said, it's, you are kind of in your own driver's seat. And I mean, the nature of my other job, I'm not in any way, shape or form in the driver's seat. I'm kind of at the mercy of other people. But even then, like, I mean, I work from home. I don't put on shoes for most of the day. Like I might not
show us
have
your
on,
feet.
Yeah. Right now I've got on Papa Bear slippers. I wear these all day long. Like I never put on shoes. So, I mean, it could be a lot worse. There's a lot worse things that I can be doing. Whether or not it's taxing on my patience, that's completely up to me or up to the coach themselves. Younger coaches, figure out your system, I think would be, because I think that's where this person's coming from. They're coming from how they may be a new coach and it's taxing on their patience to have to respond to people. But if you create very defined borders of when your day begins and ends, then that way it shouldn't be taxing on your patience because you're in control.
Yeah. So like having a kid was what really drove it for me, because I want to have that time to like stay up or, play with him before he goes to bed or be able to do things with him like right now. So that's why I started training super early, because I knocked that out. And then the rest of my day is just for work, because I felt like if I would break up work between like eating or training in the middle of the day, doing things like that, it took me forever to start getting productive again when I came back to work after doing those things. And Jason, you made a good point one time in the chat, and you were saying like, it takes like, if you get distracted, it takes like 30 minutes for you to actually get really focused on something again. So that's why, like, when I sit and work all day, my phone is on do not disturb, because no clients text me, they WhatsApp me. So WhatsApp is up on my screen. I have my email on my screen. I have my Google Sheets on my screen, but my phone's on do not disturb. And I don't look at my phone, and I'm just going. And I found that I've gotten so productive and I work so fast now that I am having like 4 3-hour blocks at the end of the day where I just kind of am like, well, I could do extra stuff for tomorrow, or I could just chill.
Dude, I like, so I think like Jason, you spoke to like rigidity. Is that how you say that word?
Yeah.
Being very rigid or whatever.
It's rigidity. Rigidity.
But, you know, I think that's the cool thing about coaching is like, I think it's a good idea to have that rigidness through your day and that plan, but also there's so much room for flexibility and to work with yourself. Like that's one thing that I prize part of this job is that I talk to clients all the time, and I'm always trying to help them take the path of least resistance when it comes to anything, like their job, right? And how that gets in the way of what times they eat, what times they have to, and you know, there's no way around it. And they have certain times they have to work and certain times that they can go train and stuff like that. But it's like with coaching and like working from home, you have like that ability to design your day almost how you want, right? Like if you feel your best at 2 p.m. and train, you can do that. Just design the rest of your day around it. And so, yeah, I think there's finding that right balance of being rigid, but also flexible, so that you're not forcing yourself to do stuff you hate all the time, like throughout your day, if that makes sense.
I think there's probably 2 things. Sorry, Ryan. So the first thing, like we have a lot of control. The one thing we don't often have control of is, you know, there are going to be things that have to be set in stone. So like consultations, things like that, meetings, it's like those are just hours out of the day that you have to take. But the rest of it's pretty fluid. There's a day of my week, it's Wednesday usually, is just meetings. That means I get nothing. I'd get no projects done. More projects are just sort of given to me, but there's no actual work that actually gets done on those days. So the times are going to happen where it might be taxing on your patients, but that's not taxing on your patients. That's more or less just taxing on your level of productivity. But that would be my big suggestion. I mean, that's how, when you take your car to the shop, that's how they make money. They make money based off the idea that they're going to tell you that it takes 2 hours to change your brake pads. It really doesn't. It takes like 45 minutes. So then they basically profit, because then that extra 1 hour and 15 minutes, they then roll into the next project. And then by the end of the day, they might have banked like 5 or 6 hours at $140 an hour. And they use that to pay their techs. That's how you basically can gamify and make sure that your productivity is profitable for you at the end of the day. Sorry, Ryan. My bad.
Well, I have something way more valuable to say. So
okay, fair enough.
Forget all that shit that he just said. That was garbage. Embrace yourselves, motherfuckers. So Dom and I were sitting for an interview with one of the assistant coach candidates, and he said something to us that really kind of resonated, and I've been thinking about it the last couple of days. And he was saying, like, as you become a better coach, you're no longer trading your time for money anymore. You're trading your value for money. And the further you get into your coaching career, the more value you can provide at a lower time cost to you. What I used to sell to people for $100, a training program that would last them 2 months, that took me 3 hours to write, I can write that same program in 10 minutes today. And because I've refined my knowledge around training so much, I can charge twice as much. So I think Jason said this seems like someone who's very new to coaching when they're saying how time consuming and taxing on your patients is it, because it is very time consuming and taxing on your patients when you first get started. But as with any job or, you know, career path that you go down, you get better at it with time, and you make more money per unit of time by providing a greater value to the end user. So it definitely does improve as you kind of work along your career, as long as you're open to continuing to improve yourself, your processes, and the products you're delivering.
Yeah, like I just sent out like all new sheets, new training sheets, new nutrition tracking sheets. I'm transferring everybody that's currently on their old programs onto these new ones now, just to, one, increase the value of what they're getting, because now I'm adding some more metrics for them to track. I'm making it more, organized for them, so it's just super easy. I'm dumbifying it for them as much as I can, so that they are able to track everything the way they need to track. And I've gotten a lot of good feedback from it. Like, clients who've been with me for over a year, over 2 years, are just like, man, this is so much better. Like, this is just getting better. And doing that, one, my time is going down spent on things, but the value of what they're getting is going up. And my clients are really appreciative of that. And I think Ryan hit that. Like, you have to be willing to change, improve, work on your product, what you're giving them. And they get really appreciative of it, because they don't feel like they're just, doing the same thing over and over and over and over.
That was bullshit, Dom. No, I'm kidding. No, that was great. That was great, Dom. That was great. What last thing I think I want to put in based just from the text of that, because I know that it's something I struggled with, and something I'm probably still trying to improve on as well. And I know a lot of newer coaches probably have that mindset too, but I think it's important to realize that, like, as a coach, if you work 10-hour days compared to 12, or if you work 8 or 9 hour days, compared to 10, or you do take one day off a week, like, you're still going to be a really good coach. Like, nobody is making you work. What is that? Like 60-hour work weeks? You know what I mean? Like, you can still be a really good coach and not be at your desk 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week.
It's almost like a comparison to like junk volume in the gym. Like, if you want to grow, like, there's a chance that doing like 15 sets, or there's a chance that doing 25 sets per body part will get you marginally better results than doing like 15 to 18 sets. But what's the cost? What's the time cost? Like, what is like the possible injury risk above that? Like, are you going to burn yourself out mentally before you get to that point? So I think with anything, like you said, taking a metered approach where you're keeping the vision in mind, because if you do work 12 hours a day and 6 months into it, you fucking hate your life, like, congrats, you just burned yourself out within your first 6 months of coaching.
I mean, and dude, realistically, this is a career where you could work 6 hours a day, probably more like 6 days a week or whatever, and still be a really good coach. Like,
could work 1 hour a day and still be a good coach.
I don't feel like...
I think of it in the opposite. I think of it as, we work for ourselves. This is work at the end of the day. You should be willing to work as much as you have to work to be where you want to be.
No. I think that's that. I think
a lot of people come into this thinking they can get away with 5 hour days.
Yeah,
and they get nothing done.
That's a good. I mean, I don't want to downplay the importance of working hard in long hours, because I did it. I did it for, like, I had 3 jobs for probably 15 years. Like, I'd never had less than 1 job or less than 2 jobs for a very long time. So I think over time you start to build processes. A lot of it was building like relationships with you guys. Like, you guys have made coaching for me 1,000 times easier just because the processes that you've introduced to me. Like, where I'm like, okay, you're doing it in a far more intelligent way than I am. So why would I continue to do the dumb shit that I was doing before that takes a lot of time? So it's like you build processes, you build relationships. You change over time. So yeah. At the front end, you're probably going to have to put in a lot of groundwork. But that's with anything. Like, if you start any new endeavor, you're going to have to start at the ground level. You're just a grunt. You have to put in the work. Then over time, you can start to probably pare back. When that happens, I guess that depends on the individual. Now is probably the best time as a coach, because there's more resources than ever on how do I build a spreadsheet? What should the spreadsheet look like? What data is important to me? How do I reach out? Like, all that stuff's there. So, I mean, it's definitely the best time ever to become a coach. But yeah, you definitely have to put in the work at some point in time. But I really feel like after about 6 hours of really hard work, my productivity starts to really slide.
I'm 100% with you, Don. I think that for just about any coach, there is probably going to be a time where you need to grind. And if you just enjoy the grind and it's like a controlled, deliberate sort of like path that you're taking, I think that that's cool. Grind as long as you want. But I just don't think, I think there are a lot of people who don't sort of control that and just let it control them, and puts them in a spot where they feel like they have to work 8, 10, 11, 12, when they can have periods of their life where they don't have that type of grind if they want it.
I remember talking to Ryan when I was trying to build the website. I remember I was like,
what is this?
This website's going to take a while because if I try to rush it anymore, I'm probably going to be sleeping in your garage in my car. And he was like, listen, the website is not as important as the sanctity of your marriage. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to take a little bit of time to get this done. He was like, okay.
I said, listen, we grew this business pretty large with a website that looks like it was like drawn on a bar napkin with crayons. Like, we can wait on a much sexier website. But you guys see this shit right here? This stuff right here? This is kind of like what someone messaged me. So like question from the crowd here. I forget exactly who messaged me. And they were saying like they could really fuck themselves up with these right here.
Those look good.
Really good, right? Chocolate.
Those look pretty
butter.
legit.
You get the butter cracker of the Ritz as well.
A little salty and sweet, a little savory situation. Okay.
I didn't know that.
The salty chocolate is definitely good.
I didn't know that Gushers were discontinued.
As they should be.
Sir, calm yourself down. So,
are you a fruit roll-up or Gushers guy?
Gushers.
Fruit roll-ups all day, son.
Oh, no.
Are you fruit by the foot or fruit roll-up?
Fruit by the foot. By the foot, for sure.
I feel like something about by the foot just seems like the move. It's like the same way you buy carpet, you should also probably get your fruit.
They make these
fruit roll-ups are kind of bullshit.
They make these fruit roll-ups at this Arabic store here, and I have to send you guys some.
Okay.
Because you will never go back to having bullshit-ass fruit roll-ups at Kroger or Publix.
I'll take your word for it that I shouldn't include those fruit roll-ups in what I'm about to say, but regular fruit roll-ups are kind of bullshit, right? It's like this big-ass chewy dental dam that you fucking...
It's like fly paper.
You have to... It's like the beef jerky of fucking candy, dude.
If you try and eat it like beef jerky, if you just try and get it in there and bite it off, it's like, it's very unwieldy. But if you roll it all the way out, it's like even worse. Like, how do you eat it then? Then you have to like eat it like it's a piece of like paper or something. And then it gets stuck. And it
like looks like shit. Your like thumbprints are in it when you're ripping it apart. Like,
so here's the greater question of the day. What is the snack food that you guys could completely ruin your beehole with? Like, what is the one thing that once it starts, you're not reining it back in? You're really gonna hurt yourself.
Goldfish.
Goldfish? Any certain flavor?
Yeah. No, it doesn't fucking matter. I could eat the whole thing.
A regular ass.
I could eat the box, like the milk carton looking one.
Yep.
I could eat the whole thing.
Dom,
that's like one step away from like grandma that loves pretzels.
Don, did you know they make ones that have like extra cheese? Have you seen those?
Yeah, those are good. Flavor
blasted. Yeah, flavor blasted.
Flavor blasted changes things.
Can't do it in the house. They have to be out of the house. Can't do it.
Because I don't love pizza stuff, but the pizza flavor blasted goldfish are really good. Really good. Jay,
Pringles are legit.
Jay, what are you going hard on?
Dude, if it's popcorn.
What kind of popcorn?
Oh yeah.
Just plain popcorn?
Just butter.
Like just cheddar popcorn?
Just white cheddar popcorn, like Smart Pop, like whatever it is. If it's popcorn,
bro, white cheddar popcorn,
there's something about it, and it just destroys me. I have a bag of microwavable popcorn every night. I sit on the couch with the wife, we watch Netflix or whatever. I have a bag of popcorn every night. But
destroys your butthole.
Yeah,
like
but if I have the opportunity,
just coming out like fingernails against your colon, dude.
Oh, if we go to the movie theater and we get like, I'm like, They're like, a small is $16. The large is $54. I'm like, you know what?
Worth
Give
it.
me the large, and I'll eat the like Katie will stop because she's a relatively sane human being, and I'll eat the entire bag, and then I'll go back and like put more butter in it and shit, and then the next 2 days it's just straight out. It's just all that.
You leave, your lips are swollen like you just got injections done, dude.
It just
like
kills me.
Everything's raw and
like
salty.
Something about like the popcorn texture, like those mini rice cakes that are they have like almost, they don't want to call it Cool Ranch, so they call it like something other ranch. Like I'll house a whole entire bag of that just because it's kind of like popcorn, and then that'll also destroy me. Popcorn,
down with those. Paul,
phenomenal.
Paul, what's the snack food?
I love, dude. I think anything white cheddar flavored, dude, like white cheddar popcorn or white cheddar popcorners. But those wouldn't be my number one. But I've never thought about this before. I don't know if I had a number one. So I'm just thinking about stuff that's like impossible to stop once I start. Huh?
You're like throwing up like Jay-Z's like hand side.
I don't know why I was making the shape of the popcorners. I was just lost in my own brain, like thinking about this fucking popcorner, dude. I'm like, yes.
I was like, oh shit, yes, Rockefeller, y'all.
Dude, Pringles though, Dom said it. Like, Pringles are so fucking dangerous. How do you not eat the whole can? Christina will get some and she's like, oh, I want like 4 of them, and she'll set them down, and I'm like, oh, those are Christina's. I should let her enjoy those. And every time I pass by, I grab like a fucking third of the can, and I'm like, okay, this is it. But it just happens. I walk by and eventually the can is gone. And this isn't like a 1-day process. This is like over 30 minutes. Like,
I feel like Ryan's a Slim Jim guy.
What the fuck? Dom, please, get out of here. Fuck Slim
That
Jim.
is just some dumpster.
Yeah, that is some garbage human shit.
He's like, I'm a jerky connoisseur.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody told me, if I had imagined a guy whose favorite food was Slim Jims, he for sure would be like a homeless dude and definitely have STDs.
That's like it's like an old Yo Mama joke. Like, Yo Mama Joe's so fat and trashy, her favorite snack food is Slim Jims. Like, that's an insult that you bring to
Damn, that's
to a
Dina's
party.
favorite snack.
Oof.
Really?
Like,
Yeah.
if Slim Jim could be like
Slim Jims or like
I can
real deal.
No, like legit Slim Jim mild.
I can imagine Dina's like, what's the finest Slim Jim in town? Like, they're your search around Michigan for like this one Slim Jim. They sell it at this one gas station like every 6 months.
Artisanal Slim Jims.
Like, if Slim Jim could be like a bodily attribute, it would be a genital wart. Like,
I was reading about hot dogs the other day. So like, hot dogs are just like processed meat inside of a casing, and when you eat the hot dog, you like dissolve the casing and you're just left with the processed meat, and then your body becomes the casing. So when you eat a hot dog, you become the hot dog. So I wonder if it's like the same thing for Slim Jims.
Christina loves fucking hot dogs.
God, I hate
the
hot
shit
dogs.
blows my
I
mind.
can't do a hot dog. I mean, I'll eat them if they're
Like,
around.
we go and get hot dogs. I'm like, why don't you get these nice ones? It says like all beef. She's like, no, I want the ones that are like 79 cents and made out of like leftover chicken. Like,
when you look at a hot dog, you're like, oh, this looks like something that's naturally occurring for sure. This looks like something I should eat.
This looks like something that I should not put in my body.
Yeah. Oh, you put it in bread. Perfect.
I'll tell you what is delicious though. If you slice up hot dogs and fry them in a pan, maybe in some fried rice or something, so good.
I like beans and weenies.
Yeah. Like back in the day when I was poor, we would just house like baked beans with hot dogs sliced up in it, son.
That's a good place to put a hot dog.
Like
dude.
a little treat. Every other mouthful, you're like, oh, that's a hot dog, and you have to chew.
Baked beans are super underrated, and a lot of people shit on baked beans, but they're like a top 5 bean arrangement for me.
I don't think there's
I
any
never
other ones.
want them, but if they are at a Thanksgiving, I'm always happy. I'm glad these are
baked beans are an interesting Thanksgiving arrangement.
We just do our own thing.
Yeah.
I'm Asian, man. You know, we just
piece it together.
You know what I love?
This holiday doesn't make sense to us anyway.
Let's get completely off topic for a second. You know what I love about Asian people? Chinese food places are always open on Thanksgiving, Christmas. They don't give a fuck. They just work. I remember being a single fella. Family lived in another state. Every Christmas, go get some Chinese food, watch NBA. That was it. I love it. Love the Chinese people. But let's go back to food.
No, I'm going to follow that up. What I also love about Chinese, Asian, we'll just say Asian restaurants is they always have the whole family working. It's like the two little kids are like running up and down the aisles of like the tables. And then there's like another like older one washing dishes maybe. And like mom and pop are working the front. It's always this like complete family affair mom and pop shop.
It's because we're lazy as Americans. Dom has decided that he's just like, I can't do this.
He wants to be off camera for any race-related conversations. He's decided that he's going to remove himself from the camera.
This is tarnishing my brand. I have to leave.
All right. I guess that only leaves me for snack food. Man, I think that the snack food that I can really hurt myself with the most is probably Nutter Butters. And like mini Nutter Butters that I can do like 3 or 4 in my mouth all at the same time. It's just the caloric density and in the peanut buttery. Oh man, those are really, really good.
I would get it. Like whenever you mention delicious foods like that, I'm like, but this motherfucker doesn't even like milk.
I don't like milk.
And I don't get it.
I like chocolate milk.
I don't.
But regular milk? Like just,
right, Jason?
You know what? It's not that I don't like milk. It's just not the top of my choices. Or like
No. I thought you were going to be with me. Any sort of pastry, cookie, tasty treat like that just hits so much harder with a cold glass of milk, especially when you can soak the cookie in the milk and make it soft, dude.
I can see that.
Like it's just like Oreos, dude. They just absorb the milk, and it's so fast. You barely have to wait for it, dude. It's hardly an inconvenience.
Aren't Asians and African Americans more likely to be lactose intolerant than milk toast motherfuckers like me?
I mean
I think
it makes sense.
I think
that the farther away you get from the motherlands,
it's like a domestication of cattle thing for like Eastern European or like European ancestry versus like African ancestry and Asian ancestry. I don't think that African countries raised a lot of like cattle for the purpose of milk. I think I read that in Epstein.
Why wouldn't that nobody ever thought to milk a water buffalo or something?
Can you milk a water buffalo?
I bet you can.
Look that up. So
drink some zebra milk.
I bet you if you go to like one of these fancy, like not a world market, but what do you call this? What's those places that always have the terrible parking that everybody loves? What's that place called?
I actually
Whole Foods and all those places.
I recently just found a repository for information about what animals you can milk. It was pornhub.com. And if you just type in milk a zebra or milk a cow, it'll give you like really good video results on like if that's possible.
Dude, I just know like on the other side of that search, it's just going to be a dude painted as a fucking zebra, like laying on a table or something. It's not going to be good.
All right, if we're bringing this thing back to reeling it heavily back in, we got Jason. Look what you started.
I'm sorry.
So when you guys do have clients that maybe they get into their snack food of choice and they go down that binging rabbit hole, how do you walk them back from that? Like, what's your usual procedure on bringing them back to earth post binge, especially if they're like catastrophizing it?
So, I think we have to think about the scenario as a whole. I want to say almost always it's after a big diet, right? And so a lot of times the answer is loosening up on the reins a bit, maybe giving them some more food, maybe talking to them about feeding strategies. Like, for instance, if it happened at night because they're most hungry at night, let's shift more of our food to that window where you're most hungry. Potentially pulling back on cardio or activity if they're doing a ton of that. But, also trying other strategies. Like sometimes I'll tell people like, hey, maybe this isn't a great time for those delicious foods because they're not very filling and you're going to want more than what you're able to allot yourself. And they may make you want more just in general, right? I was just telling somebody in a diet, I was like, hey, like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are cool. I eat them when I diet sometimes, but if you're really hungry, like that one peanut butter jelly sandwich isn't enough, and it's going to make you want more. And you're going to, for the rest of the day, you're going to think about that next peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And if that next peanut butter and jelly sandwich isn't until tomorrow because you don't have the macros for it, like that's not a great way to live the next 24 hours of your life every day, right? So I'm like, hey, keep it bland and boring. But, I'll tell people, I'm like, hey, don't start your day off with that shitty food, right? Try and postpone it till later, and maybe try and have a little bit of it after you've already had a really big meal or one of your biggest meals. Then you'll at least like have a little bit of satiety and hopefully be in a better position to just kind of stop.
Yeah, I think so. I usually, especially to try to keep people from sort of catastrophizing the whole thing, I usually go to a few things where I try to tell them like you need to have a short memory. And this tends to play really well for people that are sports fans. I think about, I'll tell them things like the best quarterbacks and the best pitchers, the best star athletes, when they make a mistake, they just kind of go back to what they did before. So you just have to have a short memory. Like don't dwell on it. And another thing I tell people is, nobody really gets fat in one day or even 2 days. It's all the things that you do after that can determine whether or not you put on any more fat. So just don't think about it. There's that whole kind of like just try to take it one meal at a time. There's a number of things I like to use to kind of explain to people that it's not that big of a deal often if they've just slip up a little bit. We're also kind of like we have weird caveman wiring that's just not set up to keep us from looking for calorically dense foods. We're just not wired that way. Like we want to eat, everybody wants to eat highly like foods with a lot of calories. Like we all sort of like highly energetic foods. Like we're always seeking those things out because our brains are just wired that way. We're not wired to just like be really lean or just maintain a weight. We're literally wired to feed ourselves so we can store energy on our bodies and basically do nothing at all. So you're fighting your own wiring. It's not that big of a deal. We all go through it. Just work through it. Tomorrow's a new day. Let's get back on track. Not that big of a deal. And then we'll just, that's more or less what I explain to people.
Dude, I want to add just a little thing to that. Because that's one thing for me. I fuck up a lot. Right, guys? Like my whole life is just one giant fuck up.
I don't believe you.
And like the one thing that always makes me feel better, and the way I tell clients to kind of look at it is like once you've acknowledged the fuck up and it's there, like you just got to tell yourself it's fine from here on out. Like I'm going to do better, and then this is my plan to do better, right? Because you can't fucking dwell on it, man. That shit fucking eats you alive.
The athlete analogy is a pretty good one. I like that one in terms of the short memory. What I like to do with my clients is I like to sit them down for a little bit of math. I feel like math and numbers for most people really like lets them kind of grasp or rationalize like what actually happened. So we'll sit down and we'll say, all right, how much did you eat? What was it? Do the calorie math on it. We'll do a little 3,500 calories equals 1 pound of body fat. Most binges that I've found from clients are anywhere between 1,200 to 2,000 calories over what their allotted calories were for that day. It's very rare that I see someone do like 3,000, 5,000, 7,000 calories. Like that's a situation where like you ate the whole wheel of cheese. I'm not even mad. I'm just impressed. It's like that's the speech that you have to have with them. And then I usually explain to them, listen, like you went 1,200 calories over. If we do, 3,500 calories equals a pound of body fat. It's only 0.3 pounds of body fat. Remember when we were in our fat loss phase and, you were losing 1.5 pounds of body fat, like weekly, you're making that look easy. Like, let's not lose track of the bigger picture here. Like chances are you had that binge or those extra calories because that's what your body was, craving in that moment. short memory, move forward with it, and usually they're like, I feel a lot better. Because I think people are like, I had 1,200 calories, it's going to convert into like, I'm going to gain like 10 pounds of body fat, because they saw the scale go up like 8 pounds of water weight in a day. And you have to, 8 pounds of body fat would be, 29,000 calories or whatever the hell it is. Like, that's not actually how much you had in that situation. So I like to do a little bit of math. Dom, is Charlie still yelling at you? All right. So what do we think that Dom would say in this situation? Me personally, I think Dom deals with clients binging by shaming them. I
think he would yell.
Yelling, number one. I think I honestly, he might not.
It's so crazy that's so far from the truth.
Hey, put yourself on mute so we can answer for you. So here's what he does. Threats.
There's some
at
threats.
High volumes. He's yelling the threats. Keep barking, Charlie. Keep going. I've also seen him. What he'll do is he'll increase their monthly payment that they pay him. He emails them and he says, he has a drafted email that he showed me where it's like, you're a piece of shit. You're a waste of my time. If you want to continue to be in my presence, like we're going to go with a 50% price hike next month until you show me that you can be on better behavior.
And all of this is in a document that he just copy pastes into each individual person when they slip up. So he just doesn't have to. Yeah, he's got that figured out. He's like, copy, paste, boom. Here's your increase, boom.
It's not even individual.
No,
not at all.
No.
Not
Your
at all.
your name isn't even on the message. It just
says, hello, shitty human, and then the rest of it is there. I've also heard rumors, can't substantiate this, that he has like an extra cardio and sauna protocol that he puts them on, where you actually have to do extra cardio to account for 300% of the calories that you binged on while in the sauna. So it's kind of like a dual punishment effect there.
Yeah. One of his cousins actually owns a company that sells plastic suits. And so he will send a plastic suit to these individuals, and then he sends them the sauna and cardio protocol.
Yeah, at 300%.
Because Dom has a cousin.
300%.
And he just auto-drafts.
Yeah.
He just auto-drafts the card. And in the email it says, don't worry, I've taken care of the auto-draft because I'm afraid you'll fuck that up too.
Dom?
No.
What?
None of that is true. Dom's a very understanding, very kind individual.
I usually try to make them realize it's no big deal. Like, I asked them, did you enjoy it? Did you have fun? Yes. Put it behind you. Just get back on your bike.
Charlie's
Dude,
like,
I'm going
Was it worth it? Did you enjoy it? Huh?
Charlie's like, this is some bullshit. You're lying.
Dad, you're lying. Tell them the truth.
Hilarious.
All right. While he's gone, we'll pull up our last piece. Our good news segment from the internet is, I love articles like this.
Oh, there's Charlie.
Love articles like this. All right, so we've got a new botanical drug that is a combination. It's from Cannabotech. It is a combination of cannabis extract, cannabinoid plant extracts, and extracts from a fungus that in a cell culture study eliminated 100% of pancreatic cancer cells. So some more cancer treatment stuff here. I'll tell you what my favorite part of
Was it in vitro?
I believe it was. What does it say? In a cell model trial.
Cell culture.
Yeah, no wonder it worked.
So number one, I like that piece. The people that
Cell
always forget
model.
that it's like a cell culture. It's like, that's like a way of saying in vitro without people like being like, oh, this validity of this.
It's Latin.
And I love the people that read this article and they're like, yes, I told you guys that smoking weed and taking shrooms would keep me from getting cancer. These are healthy behaviors that I'm engaging in.
Except the fact that it just worked with one cell
One
in a
cell.
petri dish.
I'm sure killing a single cancer cell by blasting it with chemicals is pretty easy.
I enjoy the fact that they put the suffix tech in their name, because that makes it sound very official. If you say something tech, I feel like that immediately makes it a little bit, that validates it for me personally. Anything tech.
Gifted performance tech.
Tech. See? There
Oof,
you go.
wow, I like it.
Just like that.
I already want to be an investor.
I like the fact that we are exploring the combination of cannabinoids and medicinal mushrooms. I used to just party like that, but now apparently there's some clinical effects.
You were before your time.
Clearly.
I know a lot of people that microdose psilocybin for anxiety and depression.
I've taken mushrooms before, and I'm not
That's something that makes sense.
I'm not sure. I definitely was not microdosing at the time, so maybe that's the difference. My experience wasn't the same.
You were macro dosing?
I don't think I would have been very efficient at all.
Yeah. Definitely one of those things where like a little bit might be good, a lot of it might not be great for anxiety.
Do you guys know anyone who microdoses psilocybin and they're genuinely productive? I know a lot of people that do it.
I actually know a few people that are like really, like their quality of life has gotten a lot better.
Okay. So I know a lot of people that talk about it, but they're some of the least productive individuals.
But they were productive to begin with.
Oh.
I think that's one of the things that isn't often talked about.
It doesn't make you productive.
Yeah. I feel like if you're lazy, taking mushrooms or smoking or taking some cannabis is not going to help you at all.
Yeah, I feel like when your pothead friend is trying to sell you on it, it's not a good sell.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Some dude drives a Scooby-Doo van and he talks to you about how he's been super productive by microdosing mushrooms, and he really does nothing all day besides just like watch cartoons, then that's not the source for you.
Yeah, no, I know somebody that stopped their antidepressants by switching over to microdosing every day.
I know they're using.
It makes sense.
Whoa. Go ahead, sorry.
Is it mushrooms they use? What do they use? Is it ketamine? There's something they're using for addiction. Is it ketamine?
I get targeted ads.
I don't know, but I do know that they are using. I know that they're testing at least.
Ayahuasca?
I don't know if they're using it yet.
No, they use ketamine drips for people who are addicted to heroin and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen that. Isn't ketamine like a horse tranquilizer?
It is.
I think it's just an animal tranquilizer in general. Like yeah. But what is it? Yeah, people are using like ketamine, mushrooms, MDMA, or testing it for anxiety, depression, PTSD, shit like that.
That's one where I could see short-term benefits, but long-term exposure to that stuff, I don't know.
I don't know, man. I mean, when you're talking about microdosing, it's such a small amount, like what, kind of like the dose makes the poison kind of thing. I mean, and who's to say that because I don't know yet. I don't know if the data exists, but that long-term SSRI exposure and stuff isn't equally or more risky in some ways.
Man.
I don't know.
That's the person we need to have on the podcast, is like an expert in all of this, a brain chemistry around recreational drug expert. If you know someone, and it can't be the guy who lives in the Scooby-Doo van, he is not invited on the podcast.
No.
Carl from Workaholics is not invited on the podcast.
Nope.
An actual expert. Maybe we have Dr. Brager back. Did I ever send you guys the video of the Dr. Brager cocaine rats?
No.
Oh, I gotta dig that up. So she sent us a video after we did the podcast with her. I guess her dissertation? Master's thesis? I don't know what it was. It was like treating rats with cocaine. And she has these great videos of like coked out rats just fucking sprinting around their like cage and like depriving them and just having them go crazy. And Jake put like EDM music over it. And we sent it back to her, and she loved it. It was just like, just fucking rats, like fucking run in circles.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I hope this is true. I hope this is a real thing. I think that this could be, that's an easy solution. I don't know if the man in capital letters is going to let any of this happen, but we'll see.
Big bro.
I hope they're not listening.
Well, I mean,
as long as they get their
there's
coin,
still in terms of like pharmaceutical companies, like they can still make money off of this stuff. Like they can own the grow things or like whatever. Like they can probably still turn a really huge profit. You'd think, right? People get cancer all the time.
Yeah. I'm sure they'd find a way. They definitely would find a way.
All right, folks, that is going to wrap us up here for today's discussion. Hope you guys enjoyed it. You know, you do the usual stuff like comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, your homies. You can find all of us. Our tags are underneath. If you have questions, if you would like to be part of the question from the crowd segment, hit us with those questions so that we can get them answered. Guys, thanks for joining me. It's always a pleasure to have your company every single day. As always, the race comments that Jason makes, they do not reflect the views of Gifted Performance as a whole. Take those as his own. We'll put his employer's information in the description so you can reach out to them directly. We'll see you on the next one. In the meantime, folks, stay gifted.
Bye.